Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Starr, and I work in the College of Science at Purdue. So you just heard about Silmar, and I value my connection with Silmar, but I was one of those people who started before Silmar existed, and thank goodness they exist. So I'm here to tell you about a learning community that we started for first-year students. I want to give you a little background why we started this learning community. In 2010, the percentage of international students in the College of Science was about 18%. The following year, 2011, and in subsequent years, we were well over 25%. We noticed that we kind of had two cultures going on. We had our international students who at the beginning were mainly Chinese, and over here, and our domestic students over there. And they had little engagement, little interaction, little learning from each other. And we saw this obviously as a challenge, but we also saw this as an opportunity. We built a program where we brought international and domestic students together in a number of ways. So, it's a three-pronged program that includes the learning community. This is first year entering students. It includes a program for upperclassmen who are mentors for the students in the learning community, and includes a separate program that we call Global Dialogues, which is open to upperclassmen, where if you're familiar with the iceberg model, we're digging below the surface, okay? I'm going to focus on the learning community, not on the other programs, but know this is part of a bigger whole. So, the learning community, as I said, first-year students, domestic and international students living together in one of our residence halls. As I said, they have upper-class mentors. Each one has a mentor. And they participate in a one-credit-hour course with me. We call it the Global Science Leadership Seminar. By the way, my background's in sociology, so I'm a fish out of water in College of Science anyway, so that's why Silmar is so important. You can see here 6 years worth of the learning community with varied in size from a low of 12 to a high of 34. Has a lot to do with how Purdue's recruiting and when, and I'm not going into it. We've varied in size from about a third to a half international students. So, the course that they take, what are we trying to accomplish in that course? First of all, we are introducing our students to the fact that science is a team sport. And it's not only a team sport, but it is a global team sport. And about almost half the classes, I'm bringing in science faculty who are working on collaborative research projects all over the world. And there are fascinating stories everywhere from the science side of it to the intercultural side of it, and the interpersonal side of it. We're working on developing intercultural competence, and we're working on teaming skills. So that's what we're doing in the course. In addition to the course, I have a colleague, thank goodness, who deals with a lot of co-curricular programming for this group. We have monthly dinners and programs. We have cultural events and cultural trips all over the place. And we do at least one community service event where you can see here, it's quite amazing. The local YMCA has a trunk or treat thing around Halloween, and these are the little kids, and we bring our international students who don't know what Halloween is, and we bring our domestic students, and they play games with the kids. And everybody enjoys it, and that's what you're seeing there. So the scaffolding of this learning community, or I would say the theoretical basis of it, rests in two pretty familiar models. One is, I'm losing a word, intergroup contact theory. Yeah, sorry. It's been a long day. Intergroup contact theory, which says that you need to bring two different groups together in equal statuses with a common goal. So that's one part of it. And the other theory is challenge and support. You need a balance of challenge and support in order to engage these students. Too much challenge, you push them over the cliff. Too much support, they're bored to death. Okay, so you gotta be somewhere, you see the thing there, somewhere in the middle. As Aletha already mentioned, this is one of the programs that is using the IDI for assessment. I use it both for formative and summative assessment. I base my programming around it. You'll see in a minute, we're pretty consistent about where our students start. So it's been 6 years, so I kind of know who my cohort is. The one thing you should know, because this will be pertinent to when we discuss our assessment, is that the middle stage, which is called minimization, is wider than the other stages. So to get from minimization to acceptance, which is the next stage, takes a lot more, okay? So this is what we know. Here we have our 6 cohorts. You can see here that they were within 3 points of each other when they get to Purdue. I can also tell you that we have found no difference between international and domestic students, nor have we found a difference between males and females, okay? And someone's wondering, for a couple of years, I took people who weren't in the learning community and made them do the IDI too, and I found no difference between them and those who opted into the learning community. So everybody's kind of starting at the same point. Now you're going to get to see what's happened. The bottom is regression. In other words, they regressed a stage. The middle is they stayed the same. The top, the kind of ivory color, is how many advanced a stage. So you see in the last 2 years, we have more than 40% who have advanced a stage, even though many of them started right there at the beginning of minimization. Now, in order to try to understand these results better, and I'll interpret them for you in a moment, we also decided to do some qualitative assessment. We took 2 assignments that I had decided anyway to give to the students. And we decided to do qualitative analysis, and I have to thank my colleague Dan here, because he was one of the first people to do this qualitative analysis, which is tedious, let's put it that way. I asked them basically, describe an occasion when you have had an intercultural challenge that you have been successful at navigating. And then the second time, describe an occasion when you have had an intercultural challenge that you have been unsuccessful in navigating. We use the AAC&U rubric to analyze this data. You can see here, for those of you who are familiar with the rubric, we're missing 2 because we found we never got enough information to analyze on those 2. It's worldview frameworks and curiosity, yes. So we analyzed on the basis of the other 4. For us, level 3 is significant intercultural competence, and that's what we were looking for. And here you see the results. What you see there on the right is openness. And in those last 2 years where you had on the IDI scores over 40% advancing a stage, you see there that almost 50% of the students have reached level 3 in openness. Let me tell you why I think that is. So if I go back historically and looked at how I have changed and how I have changed how I address the learning community and what I do there. First 2 years, I went into this whole thing, although I was IDI trained at the time, went into this whole thing thinking, okay, students have no problem figuring out what they have in common. What my job needs to be teaching them about difference and how to navigate difference. Do you remember how many students fell off the cliff in those first 2 years? In other words, moved backwards on their IDI score? Yeah, I wasn't giving them enough support. It was a little too challenging. The middle 2 years, we had 2 very small cohorts. One of them had great growth. The other one had almost no growth at all. I don't have a good explanation, except that that second one, that group, it was very small, as I said, and it never seemed to coalesce. We were, in both those cohorts, doing a much more balanced job of challenge and support. It wasn't all, hey, figure out about difference and figure out how you're going to navigate it anymore. 27-18, the third stage, we had the challenge and the support in balance by then, I think. What we added, because I could get my friends at Silmar to help me, our students were never given their IDI results before. I was using it basically for assessment purposes, so as a pre-post. In 2017, we started debriefing each of our students. That is an intensive conversation for about an hour with an IDI qualified administrator, and there we were getting that cultural self-awareness. There they were thinking about where they are and where they wanted to get to. Okay? We were also, together with the intercultural inventory profiles that you receive, you also get a development plan. Okay, what can you do to move? I used a lot of things from the development plan as class assignments. So that was supporting that development. I added 2019 here because when we were doing the content analysis the second time for 2018, we noticed that the students many times were describing interpersonal challenges that they had faced, but not intercultural challenges. So this year, I decided to add a unit on differentiating the cultural from the personal and the universal. Take a couple of minutes, look through this, decide what you think, which situations are cultural and which are not. And then you can share that with the person next to you. Okay, let me interrupt because I know the conversations can get interesting. Let's see, which ones do you think are cultural? Okay, slurping sound. Wait a minute, let's go back to the slurping sounds. Why is that cultural?
Because in our society, it's considered more rude, and in some other cultures, it's considered a compliment, I believe, to the cook.
Good job. What was the next one? What'd you say?
Personal, circumstance.
Okay, could be, but there are cultures where it is considered a compliment if you slurp your food. Next one. Yes, next cultural one, sorry.
Shaking hands.
Shaking hands. Definitely cultural, right? Okay, next one. Eating with chopsticks.
Yeah.
Women walking 5 steps behind men. Okay? Any more? Okay, some people would claim that respecting at least the degree of respect that you show to your elders is cultural. There are some cultures where it is stressed a lot more than others. Okay?
Isn't that more universal?
Excuse me?
Isn't that more universal in all
Well,
cultures?
okay, if you take it as respecting elders, I think we would all agree that in most cultures or all cultures, we respect elders. It's more of a degree to which you do that. Our culture, my culture, American culture, I'm gonna watch this, seems to celebrate youth more than they celebrate the elderly, whereas there are other cultures where the elderly are much more respected, esteemed, sought after for advice and things like that. Okay, so this is what I did with my students, and we had the same type of discussion I just had with you. I can tell you that in 2019, which was this fall, I only have IDI results. There's been no time and no energy to do any kind of content analysis, but 27% of the students stayed in the same stage of the intercultural development continuum. All of those started in minimization and continued in minimization, and 73% advanced a stage, and we had no regressions. Now, whether this exercise did it or something else, I can't tell you. But my conclusion for myself is, all right, we're still heading in the right direction. So, yes. What are some general conclusions I have for this learning community? We still know that for students, residing together with students from different cultures is difficult. We know that the students find it difficult to accommodate differences in their everyday lives at Purdue. And we know that students resist activities that require them to explore their differences with other participants in that program openly and directly. Okay? So those are the things, at least for a first-year learning community, that I have to minimize and I have to watch out for. On the other hand, the things that seems to help students learn to bridge differences is, first of all, reflection, and reflection on their own cultural backgrounds and behaviors. Okay? So yes, it's helping them bridge difference, but it's first of all learning about themselves. Secondly, exploring what they have in common with other students. And thirdly, and this goes back to that intergroup contact theory, working together in equal roles to achieve a common goal. Now, a more general conclusion I have for you from this learning community and the whole Global Science Partners program that we're running, we know that in the College of Science, as much as we would like it, no more than 20% of our students are going to study abroad, even in one-week programs. So a program like this, which takes place in West Lafayette, Indiana, where we are able to attain growth that is similar to most intentional study abroad programs, at least as measured by the IDI, I think is a fantastic savings and efficient way to go. On that note, I'm turning this over to Dan.